With the latest on Sean Diddy Combs, the music mogul currently sitting in a federal jail in Brooklyn, New York, indicted on trafficking and racketeering.
Sean Diddy Combs placed on watch at New York jail. Sources call it routine, so it's not like a big deal. LA time, just a regular thing. We put guys on watch.
Diddy's arrest has been the talk of the town. But let's be real. We all know Diddy's not going down alone. With the A-list crowd he's been running with, plenty of our favorite celebs are sweating right now. And guess who's at the top of that list? None other than Steve Harvey himself. Yep, the same Steve Harvey who's been front and center at Diddy's infamous parties, praising him for that so-called black excellence. But hold on. Turns out behind all that success, Diddy was allegedly running a mob. And guess who was allegedly a willing participant? You guessed it, Harvey. Now, just as the feds started circling around Diddy, Steve was nowhere to be found. Why? Because he left the country. Coincidence? I don't think so. But with the feds now shifting their focus on Harvey, it's looking a lot more suspicious. You have to wonder, what does Steve know? And more importantly, what is he running from? Buckle up because this saga is far from over. Steve Harvey on the run. So, Steve Harvey, the mainstream relationship guru, seems to be cutting ties with his brother Diddy, now that things have gotten a little too hot to handle. Reports are claiming that on the very day Diddy got arrested, Steve packed his bags and left the country. Now let me ask you this, why would you bounce out of the States if you got nothing to hide? Instead of dodging the spotlight, he's only made people even more suspicious. Could Steve be mixed up in Diddy's drama, or is there something else going on behind the scenes? And for those thinking this sounds like a stretch, here's the tea. Steve went ahead and deleted all his tweets where he was singing Diddy's praises for his philanthropic work. Yeah, not exactly a great look. It's almost like Steve's trying to wipe the slate clean before anyone starts connecting the dots. Makes you wonder, what does Steve know? So the most important tweet he deleted was this one. My brother, @Diddy, is doing a world of good for these kids. Interestingly enough, one of the deleted tweets was actually about Sean Combs donating a cool $1 million to Hurricane Katrina relief. You'd think that's the kind of tweet you'd want to keep, right? But nope, Steve hit that delete button real quick. Now, why erase a post that shows Diddy in such a positive light? Makes you wonder if Steve's trying to cover his tracks before anyone starts digging deeper. On top of that, Usher is in full damage control mode after 6,000 of his tweets mysteriously vanished over the weekend, right after Sean Diddy Combs got arrested on those serious ST charges. Naturally, the internet had a field day, with fans speculating Usher was scrubbing his digital footprints to avoid getting dragged into the mess. But Usher, ever the smooth talker, hopped back on his X account post, saying, "Account got hacked, and damn y'all ran with it. See you all tonight at Intuit Dome." Still, despite his breezy response, Usher hasn't directly commented on the growing controversy surrounding Combs, and it's not helping that a recent civil lawsuit from former Danity Kane member Don Richard alleged that Usher witnessed Diddy's DV against his ex, Cassie Ventura. Interestingly, Usher has yet to respond to any of these claims. People on social media have been digging up old interviews that cast a whole lot of side-eye on his long-running ties with Diddy. Remember, Combs didn't just executive produce Usher's debut album. They go way back. When Usher was a teenager in the 90s, he even lived with Diddy for a year. In a 2016 interview with Howard Stern, Usher hinted that he saw some pretty wild things in Diddy's mansion. I got a chance to see some things. I don't know if I could indulge and even understand what I was looking at. That's more than a little suspicious. And it doesn't end there. In a 2004 Rolling Stone interview, Usher admitted that Diddy's place was like a nonstop party. There were always girls around. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it, or several people in a room having an oh. You never knew what was going to happen. Honestly, though, Usher and Steve are not going to wash their hands clean of this one. Listen, it is really plausible that Steve and Usher are trying to cut ties with Diddy in their own way, but their roots are still attached to him. Anyway, while Steve Harvey and Usher are busy trying to wipe their slates clean, it's Katt Williams who's not holding back, spilling some serious tea on their involvement in Diddy's mess. Taking to his Instagram story, Katt reposted a video about Diddy's recent arrest on S-crime charges with the caption, "Diddy about to snitch on everybody." Now, if you recall, Katt has already made it known that he once turned down a party invite from Diddy, despite it coming with a hefty price tag. And now it all makes sense. While Steve and Usher might have said yes to the wildness, Katt wasn't about to get entangled in that drama. Looks like he dodged a bullet, while others are scrambling to clear their names.
Is that I'm quite likely to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
During an appearance on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast in January, he said, "I had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about, right? 'Cause P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you got to tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything, I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely." At the time, the comedian also predicted that the year would be rife with scandals involving numerous high-profile individuals. All of these big D deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if it's Diddy or whoever you is. Let's not forget that just a while back, rumors were flying about a possible romance between Diddy Combs and Lori Harvey. Fans couldn't stop speculating after the two were spotted together several times, and their public outings were anything but subtle. From dinners in Malibu to cozy late-night strolls in matching outfits through New York City's Soho neighborhood, Diddy and Lori had everyone talking. Back then, Diddy was making waves at the Revolt Summit, while Lori was busy hanging out with Elisa Johnson at Nobu. But somehow they always found their way back to each other, sparking rumors that there was more going on than just friendship. And then there was that diamond ring Lori was seen sporting, which had everyone convinced she was about to tie the knot. Lori quickly shut those rumors down on Instagram, denying any engagement. But the question still lingers. Was there ever something deeper between Diddy and Lori, or were they just having fun playing with the spotlight? Because with the way Harvey and Diddy have been integrated with each other, there might be a possibility of Harvey offering his favorite daughter. Diddy arrested and indicted. On September 16th, Diddy Combs was arrested on charges of racketeering, ST, and transporting individuals for P after a grand jury in New York indicted him. While the news dominated headlines, it wasn't exactly a shock. The feds had been digging into Diddy's dealings for months, even raiding his homes back in March. So this was a long time coming. What's even more telling is how prepared Diddy seemed for his arrest. He flew to New York ahead of the indictment and made sure to be right where authorities could find him when the time came. No hiding, no running, just bracing himself for the inevitable. Things went from bad to worse after his arrest, though. 2 different judges denied him bail, leaving him stuck in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York, where he's being held while the case continues to unfold. No trial date has been set yet, and there's even talk that more charges might be added as things progress.
We've been told by a former warden he's a target. That's the fact of the matter, and that's why they have him in.
Now let's get into the dark details that really have people talking. The charges against Diddy include disturbing allegations tied to his infamous freak-off parties that were first mentioned in Cassie's lawsuit. These weren't just wild get-togethers. They were allegedly much more sinister. The indictment claims women were coerced into attending, and some were even deed to keep them compliant. And many of these events were secretly recorded without the victim's consent. Those recordings were allegedly used to blackmail and silence them, making sure no one spoke out about what really went down. The level of planning behind these freak-offs is jaw-dropping. Prosecutors say that after the parties, victims were often given IV fluids to help them recover from the substances and exertion. Yeah, let that sink in. It's like some twisted mix of a party and a medical operation, all to keep these women going for Diddy's next move. And Diddy didn't do this alone. The indictment claims his close associates and employees played key roles in pulling it all together. These people allegedly booked the hotels, brought in the necessary supplies, and cleaned up afterward, literally and figuratively. They even arranged travel for the victims and commercial-S workers, ensuring everything ran smoothly. And when the bills came due, they delivered large sums of cash to Diddy to pay off the workers. Prosecutor Williams said Combs did not do this all on his own. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial-S workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial-S workers. But the cover-up is just as disturbing. Prosecutors say Diddy used his team to monitor the victims, making sure they didn't try to leave and scaring them into keeping quiet. In other words, this wasn't just one man's bad behavior. It was a well-oiled machine, built to exploit and silence. You see, Combs pleaded not guilty to the charges during the same hearing in a lower Manhattan courtroom. An attorney for Combs said he could not have obstructed justice because he did not know that he was the subject of a criminal investigation. However, Johnson, the prosecutor, told the judge, the defendant's power gives him a unique ability to influence and intimidate witnesses and victims. Witnesses we have interviewed have universally expressed their fear of the defendant. His influence makes it extremely difficult to convince people that they will be safe from his actions. As more evidence comes to light, it's possible that additional charges could be filed. For now, Diddy is stuck in detention with no clear end in sight. The man who built an empire in the music world is now facing the collapse of everything as the allegations against him pile up. The indictment also refers to the Combs enterprise, which includes his Bad Boy Entertainment record label and a litany of employees, such as security and personal assistants. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, ST, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of P, coercion and enticement to engage in P, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. New lawsuit. And just when you thought these things couldn't get any messier for Combs, boom, another bombshell drops. The man is practically drowning in legal troubles, and this time it's ugly. A new lawsuit has hit Diddy, and the allegations are just as bad as his indictment. So here's the scoop. Diddy was taken into custody last week after a federal indictment on, you guessed it, S crimes. Now, a woman named Thalia Graves has come forward with even more shocking claims. According to her lawsuit, she was just 25 when Diddy and his associate allegedly lured her to the Bad Boy Records studio in New York. But wait for it, it gets worse. She says they spiked her drink, causing her to black out, only to wake up bound and restrained. Yeah, it's like something straight out of a nightmare. Graves claims Diddy didn't just attack her, he filmed it. And for what, you ask? Allegedly to show it off to other men, humiliating her and her boyfriend for kicks. Sick, right? And as if that wasn't bad enough, Diddy and his crew allegedly threatened her into silence for years. Imagine being bullied by someone with Diddy's industry connections. Graves says she was so terrified, she thought they'd follow through on their threats. According to the lawsuit, Diddy used his power to keep her quiet, even going as far as threatening that she'd lose custody of her son if she ever spoke out. And apparently, this isn't a one-off. Her ex-partner even spilled the tea, saying Diddy and his associate had a pattern of recording women non-consensually and, wait for it, selling those tapes as pornography. This revelation sent Graves spiraling into depression, with her lawsuit describing her deep emotional scars, so deep she even contemplated ending it all. In a press conference, she said,
I've had PTSD, depression, and anxiety. I'm emotionally scarred.
In her statement, she said, the internal pain after being essayed has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the attack. Now, Diddy didn't just find himself in the middle of some messy lawsuits. He got caught red-handed trying to manipulate the very people accusing him. You see, prosecutors dropped a bomb in court, claiming that since his ex, Cassie, hit him with that massive lawsuit in November, Diddy's been working overtime trying to keep folks quiet. Not only did he reach out to her, but he was also blowing up the phones of witnesses, grand jury subpoena recipients, and others who've accused him of misconduct. Oh, and remember Dawn Richard from Danity Kane? She came through on September 10th with a whole new lawsuit, claiming Diddy groped her, held her captive, and, wait for it, his buddy Harper was in on it too. Harper allegedly stood by while Diddy aided his former flame, Cassie. And Diddy, instead of laying low, this man started panicking. We're talking 128 calls and texts to Harper in just a few days. That's 58 calls in 4 days. Somebody's desperate. Diddy's legal team tried to brush it off, saying it's just two witnesses having different recollections. Sure. And it gets even juicier. After Cassie sued him, accusing him of all kinds of dark stuff, A, R, and those infamous freak-offs he allegedly recorded, Diddy didn't keep his cool. Nope, he reportedly reached out to someone else on his payroll, trying to convince them that everything was totally consensual. Classy, right? And of course, Diddy and Cassie quietly settled the lawsuit, but the terms completely hush-hush. But hold up. The prosecutors were not playing around. Just 3 days after Cassie's lawsuit, Diddy made 2 calls on someone he's financially supporting. Coincidence? I don't think so. The receipts don't lie. Prosecutors claim Diddy tried to get this person to stay on his side, saying that if they kept supporting him, they wouldn't have to worry about anything else. Translation, keep quiet and the money keeps flowing. Classic Diddy move. Now, all of this is unfolding while Diddy's denying everything like usual. But with all this mess, it's clear that things aren't looking too good for him. Despite all of that, Diddy's lawyer is still trying to actually prove Diddy's innocence. Agnifilo had also strongly defended Diddy in a statement after the federal indictment, stating that they were disappointed with the decision and that it was an unjust prosecution of the music mogul. Diddy is an imperfect person, but is not a criminal. To his credit, he has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. In addition to that, 50 Cent is really having the last laugh now, right at Diddy's expense. In a move that screams poetic justice, 50 is turning his longtime rival's darkest secrets into Netflix gold. His upcoming docuseries is set to blow the lid off Diddy's SA allegations. But that's not all. Oh no. It's now covering the federal crime charges too. Talk about hitting where it hurts. Imagine Diddy, once the king of bad boy records, now being the star of his own nightmare, produced by none other than his worst enemy. 50 Cent is sitting back, watching his pockets grow fatter as Diddy's reputation takes a nosedive. And who's behind the camera? Alexandria Stapleton, with 50's G-Unit Film and Television cashing in on the drama. It's the ultimate revenge story. While Diddy's world crumbles, 50 is making a killing, quite literally turning Diddy's dirty laundry into dollars. You can't script a better plot twist than this. 50 Cent and Stapleton in a joint statement. This is a story with significant human impact. It is a complex narrative spanning decades, not just the headlines or clips seen so far. We remain steadfast in our commitment to give a voice to the voiceless and to present authentic and nuanced perspectives. While the allegations are disturbing, we urge all to remember that Sean Combs' story is not the full story of hip-hop and its culture. We aim to ensure that individual actions do not overshadow the culture's broader contributions. So all in all, things aren't going to end well for Steve or anybody else who's involved in this mess. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this.